Binny, hi, welcome to the Inside Connection.
Thank you.
So I'm going to be reading your chart, your natal chart, which is the chart that represents where the planets were when you were born. You have one of the most unusual charts I've ever seen. You have a chart that has a very focused and a very powerful, intense life. It's like almost a very ambitious, very auspicious life that you've chosen to lead. Do you know that? Can you feel it?
Somewhat, but can you expand on the topic?
I will. In astrology, you have the sun in Pisces. You know that because you're born on March the 17th. But you have 4 other planets in Pisces. You're really a very sensitive, very imaginative, very creative, very like mediumistic. You have a very strong ability to intuit and understand things that aren't actually really being said. You're very empathic, very compassionate.
I think that is very true.
I haven't seen the chart of someone really so sensitive in a long time, because dividing the chart up into, say, halves, you have a lot of planets on one half, and they're all in the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces, and then you have all these other planets actually in Pisces. So I wonder if you can even watch TV without crying at the commercials.
I was about to say that.
Because it's like, you know, you're feeling everything, and especially if there's good acting in a show or something like that, you're right there with them. A lesson that you've chosen is very advanced. It's very much about you getting your own self, your own ego out of the way.
I think you hit it on the nail. I would say it's pretty good.
You're looking for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you're looking for a woman who's actually very, actually strong-willed, because you want somebody who's going to be able to take charges and make choices. And yes, she needs to appreciate how sensitive you are, but you just love a woman that's got motivation and enthusiasm and wants to make things happen. You're really not looking for somebody that wants you to lead the way. You're busy doing that in your work. You're busy doing that in your life with everybody else. In your personal life, it would be so nice if you could meet that Aries woman, you know? Or at least, yeah, if she's not an Aries, she needs to be strong like that. Somebody that's entrepreneurial and knows how to like grab you and say, Binny, let's go.
Yeah, I tend to get attracted to those kind of women, though.
I know, I see that. I want to let you know that there's one coming. The one little thing about that is you have to be careful you don't get swept off your feet so fast and then, you know, like find that it disappears as soon as it came. So I want you to be careful of that. And thanks for Skyping in and being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Binny.
Thanks for your time, too.
Okay, bye-bye.